here in a couple minutes. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. There are two stories in the news cycle locally that I'd like to compare and contrast with you, with the help of you, the viewer and listener. I would like to talk about the unfortunate comparisons and the unfortunate similarities between 28-year-old Justin Barber, the alleged Crozet killer, and the 2022 shooting on grounds that left 3 UVA football players dead and injured 2 other UVA students. We will compare and contrast Justin Barber to Christopher Darnell Jones. We will compare and contrast Justin Barber and the steps leading to his murder of 2 others in a parking lot outside of a grocery store in Crozet, to the steps leading up to UVA football player, former football player, Christopher Darnell Jones Jr., and his murder of 3 football players. There's unfortunate similarities. I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about, on the I Love CVille show, ladies and gentlemen, news that is developing with the CVille grocery store and the direction the neighborhood association is suggesting. And the neighborhood association is suggesting that a co-op is the right path. I'm going to ask you, the viewer and listener, this question. In one of the most competitive lines of business, grocery, is the best path for a boutique grocery store in a marginalized neighborhood, historically African-American neighborhood, is the best path for success having a group of people with little grocery experience to be the heads or leaders of that boutique grocery store? A lot we're going to cover on the show. Like and share the show. Like and share the show. It's the Thursday edition of the program on a busy day, on a very, very busy day. Judah Wickhauer, I ask you each day, which headline is most intriguing to you? Curious of your thoughts on that.
For me, I think the most interesting is probably the fact that UVA, after finally getting around to possibly releasing the report on the 2022 mass shooting, I'm flabbergasted that apparently what they're releasing to the public has almost no information, because the rest is blacked out and redacted. That's just, you have to wonder what's going through President Ryan's mind at this point with all the kerfuffles he's been involved in.
Well said. I think that's a question we need to ask. That's a tough question, but is it a fair question?
Yeah, considering the fact that we've spent $1.5 million of yours and my money, I believe we deserve to see what's in that report.
I want to send you an updated headline for the read, viewer, and listener slot. I'm going to Facebook message it to you. If you can update the 9th headline with the headline I'm just Facebook messaging you, a pretty significant real estate deal just closed in Charlottesville. Barracks West apartments and townhomes have been sold. That headline is in your Facebook inbox and should replace the 9th headline on the rundown.
All
And I'm going to get here. All right. Once we get that headline, and you can update that in real time if you can. And I want to get. All right, that headline's in your inbox, Facebook inbox. All right, viewers and listeners, like and share the show. We're going to get rocking and rolling here on the Thursday edition of the I Love CVille show. J-Dubs, if you can count me in, that would be great, please.
Quiet on the set.
Good Thursday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love CVille show. My phone is buzzing now with some deal flow that otherwise would be the lead of the I Love CVille show. Two prominent local brokers currently texting us about the sale of Barracks West. Nearly $57 million deal. Barracks West Apartments and Townhomes has just sold. KLNB, the Mid-Atlantic's, one of the Mid-Atlantic region's largest privately held commercial real estate brokerages, has arranged for the sale of Barracks West Apartments and Townhomes for $56.75 million on behalf of Willow Creek Partners. This is a 324-unit apartment community located here in Charlottesville. It's purchased by Northern Virginia-based West End Capital Group, which plans to reposition the property through extensive improvements to the common area amenities and living spaces. These transactions continue to happen in the Charlottesville area. I'm going to offer you some breaking news here on the Thursday edition of the I Love CVille show. This is why you tune into the program. I'll give you this news again. KLNB, one of the largest privately held commercial real estate brokerages, has helped arrange the sale of Barracks West Apartments and Townhomes for $56,750,000. This is a 324-unit apartment community located here in Charlottesville, purchased by a Northern Virginia-based West End Capital Group. This group plans to reposition the property through extensive improvements to the common area amenities and living spaces. Barracks West features a mix of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom traditional and townhome-style residences spanning 459 square feet to a max of 1,176 square feet. If you know much about multifamily in the Charlottesville area, Barracks West on the entry point of living conditions, quality of life, and monthly price point. Let's be putting things very nicely that this wasn't always the safest place to live, folks. This is yet another apartment or condo complex within the last 12 months, 10 months, that has been purchased by an out-of-market buyer. Cavalier Crossing, purchased by a buyer from Northern Virginia. The Villas at Southern Ridge, down 5th Street extended, very close to where Cavalier Crossing is located. I have a rental property at the Villas at Southern Ridge, purchased by a Richmond area, Henrico specifically, real estate investment firm. And now you have Barracks West scooped up in a $56,750,000 transaction. My, oh my, ladies and gentlemen, the multifamily market is hot in this community. This is all happening at the same time that Greystar is bringing roughly 500 units off of Old Ivy Road. At the same time that Subtex is building the Verve, 1,300 plus beds next to Scott Stadium. At the same time, ladies and gentlemen, that second years will soon be required to live on grounds. Welcome to the I Love CVille show. We lead with breaking news on a show that otherwise this would have been the hot topic of discussion. But when we are in day 3 of murder and mayhem in Crozet, this will be the lead. And on today's program, I'm going to compare and contrast what happened in a Harris Teeter shopping center in a sleepy and safe community to the unfortunate turn of events from 2022, where a UVA student brought murder and mayhem to the grounds of Thomas Jefferson's University. And the terrifying, the unfortunate, the very scary aspect of both stories, ladies and gentlemen. One, 28-year-old Justin Barber. Another, Christopher Darnell Jones, who is currently in jail. Barber dead. In both sets of circumstances, the authorities had a heads up on paper, a heads up in person, that both shooters were troubled men, troubled and dealing with mental health while in possession of guns. We're going to unpack these stories. We're going to ask the community this question: is the University of Virginia yet again acting as a bad faith actor with its release of this UVA audit, of this taxpayer-funded report, $1.5 million of our money, a report that still is not in our possession, but is now being released to the parents of the victims of the UVA mass shooting. One of the mothers goes on record, Deshaun Perry's mother, her name Happy Perry. She tells the Daily Progress and Hall Spencer that there is literally nothing in the report. They have taken everything out. And she tells UVA, the print media, and us as a community, tell me what happened on the night of November 13th, 2022. I still do not know what happened to my child. Is UVA acting as a bad faith actor by releasing a report where everything is redacted in the report? We have to ask that question. Also, it seems trivial, but it's in the news cycle. We have to talk CVille, the neighborhood association in a historically marginalized community, a historically African-American community, has until the end of the month, the 28th of February, to submit a business plan to Woodard Properties. And the business plan they are submitting to Woodard Properties will lead with a grocery co-op as the manager for a boutique grocery store, a grocery co-op led by people with no grocery experience in a space of business, groceries, that is as competitive of any space out there. I want to unpack the CVille Neighborhood Association suggesting moving forward with a business plan with a deadline of the 28th of February. Their choice to select people from the neighborhood, a co-op model, as the best path to manage and lead a boutique grocery store forward. So much to cover on the Thursday edition of the I Love CVille show. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, 60 plus years in business. Judah Wickhauer, online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. Friends of the program, John Vermillion and Andrew Vermillion, are the type of people we want to see 60 years in business from now, which would put it in the neighborhood of what? 2085. Nothing more I would love to see than Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. on East High Street and online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com, in operation in 2085. 60 years already in business. How about another 60 years, ladies and gentlemen? So much to cover on the program. We highlight the fine folks at Charlottesville Business Brokers. An offshoot of our firm, Charlottesville Business Brokers, is brokering deals left and right, including one that's going to close on the first few days of March, a significant closing. In the last calendar year, Charlottesville Business Brokers have helped broker the transaction of 12 noteworthy businesses in the Charlottesville, Albemarle, and Central Virginia communities. Judah Wickhauer, studio camera, then a two-shot. I ask you the same question every single day while I ask the viewer and listener to like and share the show. The headline that's most intriguing to you on what? Thursday, February 20th, here in downtown Charlottesville. My friend, what is on your mind?
Well, I think that the strange fact that UVA is, after putting it off for so long, releasing a mostly redacted report on the multiple shootings 3 years ago is crazy, especially considering the fact that taxpayers have paid $1.5 million to get that report.
Our money. Mm-hmm. And UVA hides behind the cloak of student anonymity, the cloak of we can't release this information because we're not in the business of giving details out on our students' lives and their families.
And then there's the fact that an administrator at UVA has left since, so we may not get answers from that quarter, so to speak.
These are the elements that I want you to digest with the UVA story from 2022. The killer who's behind bars, Christopher Jones, there was a track record of concern and a path that I think probably was not a protocol or a path that probably was not followed correctly. Mr. Jones had exhibited several concerning behaviors. You can read about this in the Daily Progress today if you would like. One of the items highlighted in the article, the university's threat assessment team looked at Mr. Jones because of his involvement in a hazing investigation. While exploring the hazing allegation, the Daily Progress reports, UVA Student Affairs heard from another student the September before the shooting that Jones, in contravention of school policy, said he was in possession of a gun. As part of its investigation into the firearm, UVA learned that Jones had been convicted of a misdemeanor concealed weapons violation in 2021, which also is a violation of UVA policy. He did not disclose that to UVA. That's the violation. The university emailed Jones the October before the shooting to warn that he faced the possibility of disciplinary action and urged him to speak with UVA officials. The following day, on October 27, 2022, UVA escalated the case for disciplinary action. The escalation was 17 days before Jones opened fire on his schoolmates. Here's the terrible aspect of this story. We have two men, relatively close in age, who were showing signs of distress, signs of mental health issues, impaired mental health, clearly had guns in their possession to the tune that those around them were telling the authorities that this individual has a gun, we're concerned about what they may do with it. And in both circumstances, we are asking the question, whether fair or not, did the authorities manage the situation correctly? I've heard legitimate arguments for both sides when it applies to Albemarle County. And did it manage Justin Barber, his mental health struggles, his mother and his sister telling Albemarle County he has guns, we're worried about him and what he's going to do. Please take him away from him. Please do what you can with him. You have students at the University of Virginia. You have even more significant and more damning evidence You have an arrest, right? And a conviction, a misdemeanor concealed weapons conviction. Mm-hmm. And the University of Virginia may or may not have done enough. Why was he not expelled? Why wasn't better communication done? Why did this take so long to look into a man with a criminal history, with mental health issues, a gun on grounds? And now you're left with two entities that are doing whatever they can to minimize exposure. The university minimizing exposure in every aspect, redacted report, keeping the report from the public, delaying the report. I hate to say this, they may have used Albemarle County Commonwealth's Attorney Jim Hingley. Mr. Hingley will be on this program, a fantastic attorney. He will be on this show on Wednesday, March 5th. UVA is doing what's best for UVA. And what's best for UVA is not the right play here. A report that clearly highlights what was done wrong throughout this is the right play. When my 6-year-old gets in trouble at home or at school, we sit him down, we asked him what he did right, what he did wrong, the decision-making employed to get to that point. And then we ask him to apologize and to communicate what was done incorrectly. The University of Virginia is choosing a path instead of hiding things in a taxpayer-funded report, delaying the report as much as possible. And it's not until Commonwealth's Attorney Jim Hingley said, you know what, we can release the report, that UVA said, all right, let's get it out there. And when they sent it to parents, they sent it in a way where they couldn't forward it to anybody else. They literally emailed it to parents with encryption where it could not be forwarded to other people, Judah. And the report they provided the parents of the dead football players, one of the moms, Deshaun Perry's mom, is saying, there's literally nothing in here.
Yeah.
I still don't know what happened to my child on November 13th, 2022. She gives Mr. Hingley props and says the statement that he read in court, the Albemarle Commonwealth's attorney, that they read in court, I learned more from that statement than I did from the report provided by UVA.
Yeah.
On a day where we are still reeling and still trying to figure out, navigate the emotional trauma of murder and mayhem in Crozet, there are eerie, sadly eerie coincidences, similarities, links with Justin Barber and Christopher Jones, and how authorities and parties, loved ones, friends, interacted with the University of Virginia and Albemarle County Police.
Yep.
And just like UVA is facing legal exposure right now, I hate to say this, but Albemarle County is probably heading in that direction.
I think Albemarle County probably has far less to worry about than UVA.
I agree with that, 100%.
In the case of UVA, there is clear evidence that, as you mentioned, that people had brought the fact that he had weapons to the university's attention. That was something not allowed on grounds. So we can fairly factually state that something should have been done at that point. The same with the information of UVA learning that that the man had a prior conviction, even though it was a I think well, what do you call it?
It's a misdemeanor.
Yeah, and so that's another thing that, as you mentioned, should have been a major red flag.
Huge red flag.
Something should have been done, and nothing was done. And And as you also mentioned, it was 17 days where nothing was done before this happened. In the case of Barber, this week, he wasn't on grounds. The investigation will tell us more information about what it was that was brought to the police's attention. I still have questions about the fact that the mother and sister made that statement that he knew he needed help and wanted to get help, and the fact that it sounds like they were going to the police without him, and we don't know what he said to the police. We don't know why the police didn't find...
The police said there's not enough evidence to take his guns away from him.
Yeah.
There's not enough evidence to take away his freedom and his rights.
And that seems to indicate to me that whatever he said to them made them think that he was fine.
I think that's a perfect read on this. And I don't want to make this about... This is what I don't want to make this about. Are we in an imperfect system? Clearly, the system is imperfect.
Yeah.
Clearly, the system is flawed. Management of mental health has a long way to go.
Yeah.
Did the Albemarle County Police Department operate within the standards, within the laws that they were expected to operate within with Justin Barber? I would bet you the answer to that is yes.
And I would agree with you.
I would bet you the answer is yes. Can we fault a police department for operating within the standard of the law, the expectation of the law? The answer is no, we cannot.
Right.
However, if I was the family of retired nurse Diane Spangler and banker Peter Martin, who has 2 young daughters and lives in Crozet, and now there's 2 young daughters that have to figure out a future without their father and primary bread earner of the family. There is an attorney that is certainly out there that, I hate to see this, but it's the world we live in, that sees opportunity. And that attorney would probably be doing his or her due diligence by speaking with the Barber family, the mother and the sister specifically, after seeing their Facebook post, and trying to get as much clarity as possible into how they papered the trail or documented the trail, the communication they had with the Albemarle County Police Department.
Yeah.
And that documentation of trail, that papering of trail, is what is going to go a long way in determining exposure for the Albemarle County Police Department and Albemarle County as a jurisdiction in totality. If there's a very well documented trail, guns, danger, mental health, scared, he's saying he's going to hurt people, he's saying he's going to shoot people, he's saying things like he's going to kill people. If it's that type of documentation, and this is all ifs and hypothesis right now. If there's that kind of documentation and paper trail, then goodness gracious, something is going to materialize from a legal standpoint here. And if you compare and contrast it to the UVA killing, think about it. The similarities are scary. 2022, you had a young man dealing with mental health issues, a young man that was overachieving for the large portion of his life. Mr. Jones came from a very low-income neighborhood. Some folks would describe it as a ghetto in Richmond. Made his way to UVA because of his talents on the football field. Showed tremendous upside in the classroom. Had a bright future, but struggled with mental illness and being bullied. Gets a gun. People around him are concerned that he has a gun. People around him are saying mental health concerns. There's a misdemeanor conviction for having a gun. And authorities at the University of Virginia did next to little, if not anything at all, to try to keep safety in play on grounds. And now UVA finds itself potentially as a bad faith actor because the report that highlights how they managed this mass murder, 3 football players dead, 2 others injured. The report that's being released, despite it being funded by taxpayers, is so redacted that Deshaun Perry's mother, named Happy, says, I can't read anything here. There's nothing for me. What does she say in the article? How they sent this report to me keeps me from being able to print it or forward it. Did she not say that?
I think so. I mean, well, it may have just been that there's nothing even worth printing or...
No, she has, in this article, find the exact language in there. It's toward the bottom.
She said she received a copy of the review in an encrypted format. We can't forward it. We can't print it, she said.
Yeah. Listen to that.
They won't tell us what they're hiding.
UVA sent a report to the mother of one of the dead football players. And in this report, you cannot print the report. You cannot email forward the report. And the report, she said, literally says nothing that I did not already know. Do you put yourself in the position of the mother, the father, the siblings of one of the 3 dead football players?
Yeah.
A key aspect of emotional or grief closure is knowing what happened and how we got to this point.
Yeah.
And here the University of Virginia is sending her an email. Imagine this, opening your inbox, seeing the report on the subject line of your inbox, opening the email with the report, subject line, UVA report on your inbox, and then reading the report and everything is blacked out with a highlighter, a Sharpie. And then you say, oh, I want to send this to his brother, his sister, his grandma, his granddad, the attorney, my preacher, my priest, my friend. What do you mean I can't forward this? I can't forward this email? Why couldn't I forward this email? Every other email I've received in my life, I've been able to forward. Okay, if I can't forward it, I must be able to print it. Let me hit print and send it to my Hewlett Packard that's in my home office. What do you mean I can't print this? I can't forward this report. I can't print this report. All the report is blacked out with black Sharpie. Why did you send this to me? You read the article here, and Mr. Hingley is on the show on Wednesday, March 5th. I have tremendous respect for the 2-term Albemarle County Commonwealth's attorney. Tremendous respect. I think he's phenomenal at his job. I will ask him this question, I would imagine, because he is a man of tremendous integrity and character, and a man that is very good at his job. He will choose not to comment. But very straightforward question for you, Judah. Does it not seem the University of Virginia has unfortunately positioned Mr. Hingley in not the best of light here, and or used Mr. Hingley here?
No doubt. There was a meeting with Mr. Hingley that seems to have led to the initial withholding of the document until the sentencing was done, which may have just been a delaying tactic, and now it appears they're hiding behind the FERPA, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and for all we know, they've blacked out far more information than they had to. And that is, I think, the look of things when one of the family members gets it and says, "You might as well not have sent this."
Yeah. Deshaun Perry's mom has said, "You're insulting me by sending this to me."
Yeah.
A slap in the face. Make sure you're rotating the lower thirds on screen, please. There's various the comparisons between what happened in Crozet and the events leading up to Crozet and what happened on grounds in 2022 are obvious. Obvious. Chad Wood, why send out the report at all?
Yeah.
It seems like UVA is just checking a box. 100%.
Here we said we'd take it. We said we'd release it. We're releasing it.
Philip Dow, what are they trying to hide in Scottsville? Claire Clark, you guys are exactly right. We have newspapers in 3 areas of Virginia watching the program right now. And I would encourage legacy and traditional media to offer some coverage for us that compares and contrasts the timeline of events with Justin Barber, the alleged Crozet killer, and Christopher Jones, the UVA killer. The similarities between these men are significant. And then you could utilize the storyline by saying, did the system let these men down? The role the system played that led to these murders. How did the authorities manage mental health, and did they did it correctly? The intersection, the dynamic, the crossroads of gun ownership and rights to bear arms with mental health struggle. Families and loved ones begging for authorities, waving the red flag to intervene, and authorities saying our hands are handcuffed, pun intended, with what we could do. This writes itself. It's a Virginia Press Award-winning story waiting to happen. Reporters that are watching the program right now. If your editor is not making this suggestion, then your editor is not providing you the guidance that he or she should. Anything else you would like to offer on this before we go to the next topic?
Yeah, I'd like to highlight the differences again. What happened at both of these are terribly tragic. What happened at UVA? Currently, the information we have shows us that there was actionable information that UVA should have done something about. The fact that they knew he had weapons, and the fact that they found out that he had not revealed that he had a misdemeanor charge against him. Also concerning weapons. I think both of those add up to the fact that something should have been done and wasn't. The look is, as you said, incredibly similar with Barber, but this is not about someone at college. This is about someone who presumably had these weapons at his home. We don't know whether he purchased them after he started having mental health issues, or if he'd had them for a while and the mental health issues cropped up later. I think until we know more, we have to give the benefit of the doubt to the Albemarle County Police Department, because all of us have rights. And
without question, go ahead, please. I apologize for interrupting.
You can't just go talk to the police and point at someone that you think should have their weapons taken away. You think their rights should be taken away by having them potentially arrested and put in a mental health facility. If you honestly sit down and ignore all the rest of the noise and think about that fact, if the police had the right to come knock on my door and drag me out of my house and put me in a mental health facility, that is terrifying. And when they start having the ability to do that, then you should be really scared. This is a horrible situation, but we can't just sit here and armchair talk about the fact that the police should have done this or should have done that or did something wrong. This is a person who had the right to go about their daily life, and it's terrible that they chose this route, but we don't know yet whether the police had any grounds with which to do something with this guy.
I completely agree with what Judah said. I completely agree with what Judah said. The Albemarle County Police Department should be given the benefit of the doubt until we have an indication that that benefit should not be offered anymore.
Yeah. They are bound by laws.
They are handcuffed to the system we operate within. And Judah said something that should be highlighted again. If we live in a world where a significant other or a sibling or a parent can pick up the phone,
or an angry ex,
or an angry ex can pick up the phone and call the police and say, this man's a danger to society, take his guns away, that's a society that I do not want to live in.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a society that I don't want to live in.
That's how we end up with swatting.
Yeah.
We've talked about that in the past, where somebody calls the police and sends them to someone's house, and we don't want the police. We want the police bound by laws.
Yes. Very well said. Very well said. I think what is going to end up happening is that there's going to be some third party that is doing his or her due diligence with the Barber family and saying, I want to see the documentation and how you've papered the trail with communication with Albemarle County.
Yeah.
And eventually some of that information is going to get out. In the press conference with Colonel Reeves of Albemarle County, a press conference we played, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? 2 days ago? May have been yesterday. Losing track of time, these stories are making time.
I think it was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything coming out on Tuesday.
In that press conference, Colonel Reeves, I think it was 2 days ago. Maybe, who doesn't matter. Check ilovecville.com for our content. In that press conference, Colonel Reeves made the statement, the Albemarle County Police Department, and I'm paraphrasing, had an interaction with the 28-year-old alleged Crozet killer. Yeah. And he left it at that. He did not want to speak to the significance of the interaction because it was an active investigation. And then after that press conference, the mother and the sister released a statement highlighting what they detail was significant interaction with police.
Yeah.
To the point that the magistrate was unwilling to do anything. To the point that police told them that until he hurts somebody or commits a crime, we can't do anything.
Right.
Their words. Regardless, and I'm going to get to your comments here in a matter of moments, viewers and listeners. Listen to the similarities. Christopher Jones is 25 years old. 25 right now. Yeah. Mental health issues. Gun in his possession. Students around Christopher Jones, the UVA killer, saying he's dangerous. They notified authorities that a man with mental health issues had a gun.
Yeah.
He had a previous misdemeanor conviction tied to a gun.
Yeah. That he hadn't told to the university, which was itself a problem.
Even more of a red flag. Red flags waved everywhere. And nothing was done.
Yeah.
Crozet, 28-year-old male. Mother and sister saying, we were waving red flags to the police, literally to the police, to take his guns away. Nothing was done.
Right.
2 people dead in Crozet. 3 people dead and 2 injured.
3 people dead in Crozet.
Including the shooter.
Yeah.
3 people dead, including the shooter in Crozet. 3 people dead on grounds at UVA. The comparisons are sad, just terrible, eerie.
Yeah, neither of the situations.
And it happened within a short period of time in a community that we think is Teflon to violence.
I don't know about that. But.
LinkedIn, John Blair, photos on screen if we could. I agree with you, Jerry. When I commented on the system yesterday, I was referring to law enforcement and the standards that they work with. I was not commenting on mental health services in general, but I read something from David McNair that captures the issues very well. We are asking too much from police officers in these situations. Amen.
Yeah.
Would you say amen to that?
I'd say amen to that.
John Blair also says they have training on how to evaluate these situations, but they're not trained psychiatric professionals. If you're looking for a solution, I think one potential avenue would be to look at a family petition situation. If 3 or more family members sign affidavits that someone has exhibited extreme mental health issues in the past 24 hours, then the individual must submit to a mental health evaluation. It's not as intrusive as an ECO. It would just require an evaluation.
And that may have been what happened that led to the police's interaction with Justin. But
Regardless, we can say this with confidence and conviction. The way the University of Virginia managed and handled Christopher Jones was significantly more, at this point of what we know, significantly more negligent, significantly more dangerous, significantly more rooted in malpractice than what we know has happened so far with Albemarle County.
Mm-hmm.
University of Virginia in some ways turned a blind eye to this.
Yeah,
It was like the 3 monkeys on the iPhone with the emojis, covering the eyes, covering the ears, and covering the mouth.
Yeah, something should have been done.
And to further their bad faith, to further their negligence, how they've managed this report and how they've played and used people along the way
Does not win them any points whatsoever.
reeks of self-serving at best,
Yeah.
reeks of corruption at worst.
Yeah.
And few will have the gumption and the confidence or the platform to make a statement like that, but we do. This reeks of self-serving at best and corruption at worst.
Mm.
And it's happening at the very same time that UVA Health is under the microscope for changing medical charts to maintain performance standards, leveraging what? Backroom dealing, right?
Meeting with the.
Telling doctors to overcharge patients.
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Literally telling doctors to overcharge patients, and if you don't do this, you're not going to get promotions.
Not to mention changing charts.
Changing medical charts to maintain rankings in national publications.
That's
And this is
scary.
happening at the exact same time that students were pepper sprayed on grounds at UVA for a pro-Palestine protest.
Yeah.
This is all happening at the same time that Jim Ryan has 13 people on the Board of Visitors appointed by Glenn Youngkin. I can tell you an individual right now that is having a hard time sleeping is the $1 million plus compensated president of the University of Virginia.
No doubt.
At the same time, he's released a redacted report where the mother of one of the killers has said, "You've given me nothing. This is an insult. You won't even let me print this or forward this to people."
Yeah. Why would she want to? There's nothing in there.
At the same time, the health department, the UVA Health, the hospital system, is being accused by its own employees of changing medical charts to maintain performance standards and overcharging patients, profits over people, profits over safety, profits over health, profits over staying alive. And at the same time, 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-olds were pepper sprayed by the state police. Jesus. And somehow we have to go to the next topic on the I Love CVille show. It really puts things in perspective, grocery stores and Barracks West being sold and significant deals. But that's the show. Today we were going to interview the UVA Innovators of the Year. Last night I canceled that interview. Judith, did you see the email where I postponed the scheduled interview?
Yeah.
When are we going to try to reschedule that interview?
Hopefully it'll be next Thursday.
Explain to me how on this show today I was going to be able to have a conversation with 3 UVA professors about innovation success. as we're still navigating the emotional trauma of death in Crozet in front of a grocery store.
The disconnect would have been a bit jarring.
It would have been lacking taste, poor timing, not reading the room. So I postponed the interview at 8:15 last night. And to the credit of the three UVA professors, they say, we understand, we're willing to come on when you think the timing is right. So thank you, UVA professors. We'll try to do that next week.
Yeah.
Somehow I have to segue into a grocery store conversation. And the grocery store conversation I find to be frankly concerning. We have a neighborhood association, if you want to put that lower third on screen. The CVille Neighborhood Association that believes the best path of attack, the best path of performance is for the neighborhood to run a grocery store with a neighborhood co-op. You're talking one of the most competitive lines of business in the world where profit margins are single percentage. You're going to be competing against the Harris Teeters, the Wegmans, the Food Lions, the Krogers of the world. You're going to do it in a tiny footprint with not much parking in a historically marginalized financially community. And then you're going to ask the individuals that live in the historically marginalized community to be the leaders, the shot callers, the business decision makers of the grocery store. And then the neighborhood association has said it's going to go to city council and ask for millions of dollars to help it make this project a reality.
Well, they've already given some.
How? Okay, I have a sincere question for you, okay? There's 5 people on council that determine the budget for Charlottesville. If a neighborhood association creates a co-op of neighborhood residents, and that co-op of neighborhood residents goes before council and says, we want you to give us millions of dollars more to help us create this grocery store, partner with Woodard Properties, the developer, and bring this grocery store to our neighborhood. Should council not ask the question, why will we give you taxpayer dollars to you folks who have zero experience running a grocery store? If council gives these folks who have no experience running a grocery store millions of dollars of taxpayer money, I'm going to go before city council and say, council, I would like millions of dollars to expand the real estate empire that I own. Oh, and by the way, I have 18 years of experience in real estate. Is it not council's responsibility to be the gatekeeper of taxpayer money? And is the gatekeeper of taxpayer money going to be bullied by community sentiment and community activists to further open the floodgates of dollars to an endeavor that has, from my standpoint, very little shot at succeeding? Or is the gatekeeper of money, council, going to say, you guys have never run a grocery store. This business is extremely difficult. We can't give you this money because we don't believe in your business plan. Sincere question for the viewer and listener. Does anyone think that a tiny grocery store in a financially strapped neighborhood with very little parking that is going to be led by a group of people that have never run a grocery store is going to beat Wegmans, Food Lion, Teeter, and Survive when the grocery store a block or two away, Reed's, that has had decades of experience, decades of brand recognition, more parking on a more prominent roadway, when that Reed's Grocery failed earlier this year? Make it make sense. Please make it make sense. Please. Deep Throat has this comment. The idea of a co-op thriving there is laughable. Deep Throat says, I've been a member of a co-op everywhere I have lived. Co-ops are always the most expensive grocery with the fanciest stuff, the best shopping experience, but you pay for it. A co-op in a poor neighborhood is not going to work. I've never gotten out of Bozeman, Montana's grocery co-op with a bill under $500 when I do grocery shopping for my family of 4. All I'm doing on this talk show is being reasonable and sensible. That's it. That's it. And you, the viewer and listener, can determine where you want to go. 1:26 p.m. Anything you want to add on the grocery co-op story?
I mean, you guys make some compelling points that this is a no-go. I'm reading here about how they're going to join the National Co-op Grocers Organization, giving them co-op purchasing power. They're going to leverage government-subsidized programs to double the value of SNAP and WIC. I'm just laying out some facts. I don't know if any of that means.
What does leverage government subsidies mean to you?
It means that
leverage government subsidies. What does that mean to you?
What that means to me is that they're going to attempt to
ask for taxpayer money?
No, they're going to get more value for their clients, for their purchasers' dollars.
Leveraging leveraging government subsidies means taxpayer money. Does it not?
Yeah.
Do we want a grocery store in Charlottesville City that is going to require us as taxpayers in the city as a whole to keep it afloat in perpetuity?
No, definitely not.
I'm going to ask you, the viewer and listener, this question. Do we want a grocery store in Charlottesville City where government and taxpayers are going to be required to subsidize the grocery store moving forward? Think about what we're doing here, folks. And I'll tell you, the absolute geniuses of all of this, you got to give it to Woodard and Woodard Properties. A project approved based on possibilities, and as Deep Throat said, rainbows and unicorns. Grocery store, neighborhood co-op with people who've never run a grocery store before. Only in Charlottesville. Only in Charlottesville. Next headline is a bit of breaking news. Did you get that headline on screen? Barracks West?
Yep.
Barracks West has sold apartments and townhomes. The deal, $56,750,000. This deal just closed. Legacy and traditional media watching this story, you should report this with your news cycles. CVille Media, Charlottesville Tomorrow, Daily Progress, NBC 29, CBS 19. You should listen to the show and report this. Barracks West apartment and townhomes just sold, $56,750,000. The buyer, Northern Virginia West End Capital. They plan to reposition the property through extensive improvements to the common areas and living spaces. Barracks West is a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units that range in size from 459 square feet to 1,176 square feet. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to the show. Listen to what I have to say, okay? In the last calendar year, Cavalier Crossing sold. In the last calendar year, I don't want to say calendar year, in the last 12 months. In the last 12 months, Cavalier Crossing sold Let me see when it sold. Googling it on the fly. Cavalier Crossing sold. May of 2024, Cavalier Crossing was sold for $20,500,000 to Bonaventure Multifamily Income Trust out of Northern Virginia. Okay? So write these down if you could, please, sir. Cavalier Crossing sold to Bonaventure. You just say Cavalier Crossing sold May 2024 for $20,500,000.
Sold when?
May 2024. $20,500,000.
Give me the amount again.
$20,500,000. You had the Villas at Southern Ridge sell. We broke that news on the I Love CVille show. And the Villas at Southern Ridge sold for, I'll give you that here in a matter of seconds.
You know the date?
Yep, I got to look for it on the I Love Here it is. Found it on the I Love CVille network. Henrico, Virginia-based real estate firm Levy & Co. paid $11 million to purchase a stake in the condo and rental complex Villas at Southern Ridge. I did some reconnaissance. They purchased 101 units, 101, for Levy & Co. I gave you the amount, right?
Yep.
11 million. Now we're breaking some additional news for you. This is why you watch the show. We try to bring in the elements of professionalism, the elements of business into this show for you, the viewer and listener, to learn from. This is news as I interpret it as the deal flow that comes across our desk. Barracks West apartments and townhomes sold for $56,750,000. $56,750,000. The buyer is a firm out of Northern Virginia, West End Capital Group. So Cavalier Crossing sold in May, right?
Yep.
Is that what you wrote down?
Yep.
And the Villas at Southern Ridge sold in December.
Okay.
We're here in February. So March, April, May. And the last 9 months, Judah, in the last 9 months, we've had 3 major multifamily existing apartment and condo complexes sell. Mm-hmm. What were those totals? $20,500,000, right?
Yep. 20.5, 11 million, and 56.7.
11 million plus $56,750,000. In the last 9 months, we've had $88 million in multifamily transactions in the Charlottesville area. $88 million in the last 9 months.
Yep.
And the 3 complexes that were sold are at the bottom level or the entry point of affordability, meaning they were the most affordable units possible in Albemarle and Charlottesville. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a lead of tomorrow's show. It would have been the lead of today's show if it was not for murder and mayhem in Crozet, if it was not Albemarle, the University of Virginia acting as a bad actor, and if it wasn't for nutso-ness bananas on a co-op trying to run a grocery store in Fifeville. $88,250,000 in transactions in the last 9 months in Charlottesville and Albemarle County in the multifamily space. Mm-hmm. And every single one of those buyers is going to look for return on their investment. And every single one of their buyers are doing the same plan. Let's make the amenities better, and let's take the properties that we purchased that we're renting, that were not owned, mm-hmm. and let's boot out the tenants that were paying the low money. Let's put some stainless appliances in there, some better hardware, some better lighting, some better carpet, maybe some hardwood floors, and then we're going to sell the units, or we're going to rent them at 2x the price or sell them at 2x the price and roll them out in phased sold projects that are sold in phases. There is not an ounce of affordability that's being created in the city of Charlottesville through any zoning changes, ladies and gentlemen. If you continue to read commentary on social media that changing zoning and adjusting the new zoning ordinance will breed affordability, you need to call those people out and say, stop it, enough already. You are wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're an activist. Stick to activism and let the people that actually do real estate for a living, someone who's been in it for 18 years, you're listening and talking to one, tell you how it really will play out. From day one, I told you that plan would never work. The Thursday edition of the I Love CVille show. Judah Wickhauer was on point today. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you for joining us.